Our Collision 2018 coverage is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. Find out all the ways you can benefit from a Prime subscription and get a 30-day free trial by going to collision.live/prime and by audiobooks.com. Get a free 30-day trial and a book to keep by going to collision.live/audiobooks using promo code TRY70. And we have our next startup here. Hello.
Hi. My name is Rita Hicks. I'm from Houston, Texas, and my startup is GotSpot, which is Airbnb for commercial spaces.
Oh.
Airbnb for commercial spaces.
Interesting.
Okay. How does that work for a moment? So it's basically trying to take all of the things that are already awesome about the brick and mortar businesses in a community, which is underutilized, right? It's not completely at capacity for days, certain hours even, and then making it available during those times to other entrepreneurs that don't keep their own space, but might need it occasionally to do something awesome.
Okay. Or maybe need a space while they're traveling.
Or maybe need a space while they're traveling.
Okay.
Exactly.
Interesting. So what kind of spaces are we talking about? Are we talking about maybe an office that's not used on the weekends? Are we talking about a restaurant that closes the back half during the second half of their day? What kind of place are we talking about here?
It could be those things. It really could be anything. I'll tell you, the idea originally came from my day job on shipping and logistics. So I was listening to what you're talking about, moving freight. I know a little something about how that works. But I'm in Houston.
Our software company did a project for a major retailer.
Oh, yeah.
For doing exactly that long before the term IoT existed.
That's right. And it's a big challenge to keep track of, especially when you are a high volume, high inventory business. It's really hard. But I'm in Houston. And in the weeks that followed Harvey, I lost track of the calls that I was getting from leaders in my community, desperate to find all kinds of space. They couldn't find enough space to put people, couldn't find enough space to put relief goods, couldn't find enough space to stage emergency response. And it was, if I was getting that many calls, so were the other people in my space. And I was just thinking, this is ridiculous. There needs to be one place where you can find exactly the kind of space you need exactly when you need it. So my first thought came from emergency, but then I realized this is actually a problem every day for all kinds of entrepreneurs, right? My friend Noelle is a baker. She makes the best macaroons in Houston from her kitchen for weddings. But if she wants to scale, if she wants to sell those macaroons in a bakery, she needs a commercial kitchen in order to make those macaroons. So what does it look like to make that available to her when we know there are kitchens in Houston that sit empty certain times of the day or certain times of the week?
Absolutely. Because a particular restaurant closes at 3.
Right. Or because it's a culinary institute that only has classes on Wednesdays and Thursdays or something like that. Or it's a yoga studio that has certain periods of the week when they don't have their own instruction, but they want their space to be used. And so they make it available to somebody else who maybe doesn't keep their own space or maybe is in town for a seminar or something like that to be able to give lessons. Or another really cool, funky one is there's a new podcast in Houston called Edo Radio, and they have their own studio, but they only podcast a couple of times out of the week, and so they're talking about making it available to other podcasters to use when they're not using it.
Absolutely, that's it
really could be anything
that we've started to see happen. We've got a friend in Michigan that has that same situation.
And it's a mutually beneficial thing because you're helping that entrepreneur harness an opportunity they would not be able to otherwise. But what you're also doing is making sure your favorite awesome local brick and mortar has the ability to stay open because they have additional revenue toward their bottom line.
Sure, because you're paying for the space whether you're physically in it or not.
Exactly. Overhead is the single largest expense for most brick and mortar businesses.
Yes.
It's a big reason why restaurants fail is because their rent and the cost of, keeping the lights on everything's so expensive, whether they have 100 customers or one or none. So what does it look like to help people think creatively about how their space can be used when they don't need it?
Okay. So to take advantage of an asset that you already have.
Right.
That is currently not in use. Whatever currently means.
Exactly. And in the whole process, it really does, the platform that we're building operates a lot like Airbnb in terms of how you interact with it. So it's a familiar tool. We did that on purpose. But I haven't forgotten about Harvey because in the onboarding, we're asking questions like, are you willing to raise your hand in an emergency so that we can keep track of that in our platform. So the next time there's a hurricane, because there will be one again in Houston, right?
Sure.
Our leaders can search by that and find already a list of places that have raised their hands so they know the first phone calls to make. And, we're looking at going to other cities in the future. Not every city gets hurricanes, but there are tornadoes, earthquakes, fires. All kinds of emergencies require staging and places to put people and places to put response.
Every region has some natural emergency scenario. Hawaii may have volcanic eruption today.
Yeah. So I look at GotSpot as a community resiliency tool. It's helping to grow the local business community by matching needs with resources. But then it's also a platform that begs the question, what else can we do with it?
Right.
So does your platform give recommendations for how much to charge for this Airbnb GotSpot?
Not yet, because we're pre-launch. We're actually launching in August.
Okay.
I was going to ask
You're catching
where we were.
me on the very front end. So right now, what that looks like is me doing research in the market and suggesting here's what you might consider charging for a kitchen or a yoga studio or whatnot. But ultimately, it's up to the spot holder. They set the price, they set the hours. They're the captain of their own ship. Mm-hmm. And then just like with Airbnb, the person searching in the market will find what appeals to them. Either it's the neighborhood or it's the use or it's the price point. All those things, are factored in, certainly, but that's how you ensure that the match is right.
Okay.
And then for your financial income, would that be a portion of the rent per se?
If it's a transaction-based model, yes. So there's a fee that's built into a match, but there isn't any charge to list, and there isn't any charge to search.
Okay. Understood. Yeah. Okay. So Airbnb, the original idea was, I've got some space I'd like to rent out.
Right.
And it, without them having to do anything, organically grew from there.
Right.
To people who were buying property specifically to do this.
Right.
What if maybe a landlord has a storefront that's been empty for a while? Mm-hmm. Could they, Halloween store style, take advantage of this?
They could. Actually, I'm having a lot of conversation around not only empty spaces, but spaces that would like to be able to attract new and different kinds of customers, is creating pop-up experiences. So if you have that empty storefront, which you would love a long-term tenant in, but it's going to take some time to find that right person, you could make it available for pop-up. You pair with somebody who's a local artist and do a pop-up gallery, or somebody who typically runs an Etsy store but wants to have a local experience, and so they pop that up. But it doesn't have to be in an empty space. It could be right in the middle of a local boutique that sells one thing but wants to provide something else in order to attract additional foot traffic. It could be any number of those things.
Or the lobby of the hotel.
We
had that this week.
That's
in
right.
our hotel.
And I'm having a conversation, particularly with the local hotels in Houston, around what does it look like to maximize your space? Because the experience that you can provide by having either pop-up retail or pop-up co-working, or even pop-up happy hour in your hotel spaces, I mean, that's very valuable.
Because you've got that space that's dedicated for your continental breakfast.
Right.
And at 10 o'clock.
Over.
Until 6 a.m. the next morning,
nothing there.
It just kind of sits there. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that I've kind of noticed about the hotels as we go to conference mm-hmm. is there are these sometimes very large spaces that are dedicated to 3 hours a day, and that's it, which is seemingly bizarre. Mm-hmm. And so this allows them to introduce new people to the business.
Right.
And bring new people in who want to see local art, mm-hmm. and give those artists a place to go.
Right.
Okay.
Which I really like that.
Yeah.
I really like that because it's utilizing any space that's not being used.
Right.
So it's just really efficient, honestly.
Yeah. It is, and I'm often asked the question, how are you different from co-working? And there's some overlap, right? Because one of the things that co-working does is provide flexible space. I'm different in one way because they're typically on a monthly model, and I'm talking a true one-off, I need 4 hours or I need a day or whatever that is. But the other thing too is not every entrepreneur needs a desk.
Right.
And
I was going to say, You're not going to co-work in a kitchen.
You're not. That's right. And you're not going to bake macaroons in a conference room.
Exactly.
And so for me, it's really more, what does it look like to capture the entire community,
right?
The entire business community, and pair all of the awesome resources that are literally in Houston. Anything that an entrepreneur might need is there.
Right.
What does it look like to help them find it?
Right.
And benefit another business by using it.
Right. To be able to pair you with the right space, not just a space.
Right. Well, and on the flip side, the spot holder with the right kind of tenant, because, for instance, one of my spaces is an awesome gallery, and they let their gallery be used for team building, but, they want to attract socially minded people. They want to attract nonprofits. And so we help fashion the listing in a way that makes clear that they care about nonprofits and they want to attract nonprofits to their space. And not only nonprofits, but that sort of community ethos is clear in their listing, so that when people are reading it, they're like, oh yeah, that's my kind of spot. That's where I want to go.
These are our corporate values. Mm-hmm. Hopefully we're in alignment.
Right.
This is the stuff that we find important.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I really like this.
I do.
Did you say what your timetable on this was?
We're launching in Houston in the fall.
Okay.
And we'll be rolling out other cities over the course of the next 18 months after that.
Okay.
But I'm being very thoughtful about it. Okay. Because the last thing I want is to have an awesome space in Cincinnati that no one ever uses because it's one space in Cincinnati. So what I'm doing right now, while working,
finding a city.
Not a city. I'm having conversations with leaders in a dozen cities.
But finding those places that fit, that have the spaces that that you'll be able
and the need
to actually go out and bring people in.
So I was joking a little bit, but it's really true, is that I'm talking to leaders in other cities that are scrappy like mine.
Okay.
The cities that really care about, growing the local economy, care about keeping their brick and mortar open, and are willing to think creatively about the space they need to do a job. And then going to the leaders in those cities and saying, hey, help me build a nucleus of spaces that we can offer to your community. We'll build messaging around it. You can tell me what's important in your city so that we can leverage the platform for your city, and then let's launch it together. And it's an appealing idea to a lot of kinds of cities. I'm talking to people in Lexington. I'm talking to people in Fort Worth. I'm talking to people in Tampa and Orlando, all kinds of different cities. But it's just that very I'm hyper local. I want my city to succeed. And I think once you build those nuclei, the other kinds of uses will follow. Like, I'm going to Houston. Oh, there's that thing. I can find a really cool place this way because they've already curated that collection of spots for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. If, oh no, you're at Collision.
I'm at Collision.
What was your goal here?
My goal here was to make 5 solid connections.
Okay.
And I made 20 solid connections.
Excellent.
So
that's awesome.
It has been an amazing experience.
So it's been a success is what you're saying.
It has been. It's also been just a tremendous lesson to me in the power of network, because I'm active with female founders organizations in Texas, and there are actually about 9 other female founders from Houston here this week.
Awesome.
And when I was having things, they showed up, and when they were having things, we showed up. And just that, having that sort of self-affirming, helping other people make connections was really important.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm a one-person show. I have an interim CTO, and he's wonderful, and advisory board, and they're wonderful, and none of them could come with me this week.
Okay.
Just the travel didn't work out. They're all over the place. So I sent an SOS out into my military spouse community. I'm an Army wife.
Okay.
And 2 of them, who are at 2 entirely different startups, said, we'll come. So they they came, and they wore my shirt, and they talked all about me. And just as a byproduct of being here to support me, they were put in touch with opportunities for themselves. And that's what I think that's the whole point of Collision is.
It really is.
Hence the name.
Yeah.
Right. It's very clever. But that I was so grateful that they're here, but even more grateful that it was an awesome experience for them too.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for you. This
is
awesome.
I love this idea so much that I want to see it in our area, and I have some people to put you in touch with in our area, because the Tampa area has a fascinating community developing right now.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
We're in the center of it.
I enjoy Tampa. I have a couple of very good friends who live there, and I've been to visit them, and I really like it. It's also a very scrappy city.
It is.
It is.
And we've got one guy who's kind of leading the charge, Vinnick, who owns the Lightning, the hockey team. He owns, seems like a third of downtown now. he and Bill Gates put together a coalition to make it a tech city.
Yes.
So.
Well, who knows? A year
cool.
from now, there might be GotSpot in Tampa.
That would be awesome. Well,
we have to keep in touch.
Yeah, absolutely.
We will definitely keep in touch. Before we let you go, for our viewers who are almost certainly as excited about this as we are, let them know how they can find out more and follow your journey.
Hi, everybody. You can check me out at GotSpotInc.com or at GotSpot Inc. on basically any social media platform, and I look forward to hearing from you. We're not live yet, as I mentioned, but if you go to my URL, you can sign up for my newsletter and get all the updates as they come out.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's a great conversation.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
Thank you.